Weddings are supposed to be a celebration of love, a moment when two lives come together to form something new. For Emma Carter, her wedding day wasn't just a dream. It was meticulously planned, every detail designed to create the perfect beginning to her happily ever after. Friends described her as glowing, a bride-to-be who couldn't wait to walk down the aisle. But then, something changed. On the night before her wedding, Emma Carter vanished without a trace. What was meant to be a night of excitement and last-minute details turned into one of unanswered questions and deepening confusion. She left behind a car, a bouquet, and a cryptic note, 7 words scrawled hurriedly on a torn piece of paper. A note that, instead of answering questions, raised even more. Emma's disappearance wasn't immediate. At first, it seemed she had simply taken a moment for herself, a final night to breathe before the chaos of the wedding. But hours passed, and Emma didn't return. By morning, her fiancé, Alex Turner, was calling her friends, her family, even the local authorities. He seemed frantic, desperate for answers. But as investigators began their search, one thing became clear. The story Alex told didn't add up. Alex claimed the last time he saw Emma, she was anxious. He said she told him she needed some space, that she walked out of the cafe they had been sitting in and promised to call him later. But Emma never made that call. Instead, her car was found parked miles away near a secluded trailhead by the lake. The keys were still in the ignition. Her phone sat neatly on the passenger seat, untouched, and that note, that haunting note, was sitting in the center console. Witnesses at the cafe recalled seeing Emma that night, but their recollections painted a very different picture. One described her as visibly upset, fidgeting with her ring, her eyes darting toward the door. Another claimed she and Alex had been arguing. But here's where it gets even more unsettling. At least 2 witnesses reported seeing Emma leave the cafe alone, but no one could agree on whether Alex stayed behind or followed her into the night. By the time the authorities were notified, Emma had been missing for nearly 12 hours. Searches of the trailhead and surrounding forest yielded little: a torn piece of fabric that matched her veil, footprints that led to the edge of the lake and abruptly stopped, and tire tracks that couldn't be matched to any vehicle in the area. The deeper investigators dug, the more questions they found. And at the center of those questions stood Alex Turner, a man whose alibi crumbled with every passing hour. Who was Alex Turner, really? To Emma's friends, he was the charming fiancé who had swept her off her feet. To her family, he was a man they didn't entirely trust, a man whose temper had surfaced more than once during their engagement. But Alex wasn't just under suspicion because of his relationship with Emma. He had secrets that would soon come to light in ways no one could have predicted. Was Emma running from something or someone? Did she leave that note as a final goodbye, or was it written under pressure? And why did Alex's version of events change so many times under questioning? The answers to these questions would send shockwaves through the small lakeside town Emma called home and leave a trail of speculation, heartbreak, and suspicion that continues to this day. This is the story of a bride, a note, and the secrets that unraveled everything. What really happened on the night Emma Carter vanished? Emma Carter was the kind of person who lit up a room without even trying. At 28 years old, she had a way of making people feel special. Friends described her as kind-hearted, creative, and endlessly thoughtful, always the one to remember birthdays, anniversaries, or bring homemade cookies to the office. She worked as a graphic designer, channeling her artistic talent into creating beautiful wedding invitations, event posters, and even holiday cards for her friends. Emma had a particular love for sunflowers. They were her favorite flower, her symbol of happiness. Her friends would later recall that she dreamed of having a sunflower-themed wedding, a bright, cheerful event to celebrate the beginning of her new life with the man she loved. Emma met Alex Turner 3 years earlier at a local art fair. He was charming, attentive, and seemed to adore her from the very beginning. The couple quickly became inseparable. Alex, a 32-year-old financial consultant, appeared to be everything Emma wanted: supportive of her career, enthusiastic about their shared future, and deeply in love. Friends said they were the perfect match. But as the excitement built and the big day approached, there were small cracks that only those closest to Emma noticed. She seemed tired, a little quieter than usual. When asked about it, she would wave it off, saying she was just overwhelmed by the wedding planning. Her family, thrilled about the wedding, didn't push her to talk more about what might be bothering her. Emma and Alex had chosen this small town for their wedding, far from the chaos of the city where they lived. It was a perfect escape, charming, quiet, and romantic. The kind of place where everyone knew each other and nothing out of the ordinary ever seemed to happen. On the evening of September 15th, Emma left her parents' house at 5:45 p.m. She told them she was going to meet Alex at their favorite cafe to finalize the details for their wedding. She smiled as she walked out the door, her hair tied back in a loose ponytail, wearing a casual sweater and jeans. Her mother would later recall that she seemed calm, even happy, as though she was finally at peace with everything. Emma arrived at the cafe just before 6 p.m. Witnesses later said she sat quietly for a few minutes, scrolling through her phone, until Alex arrived shortly after. They ordered coffee, and everything seemed normal, at least on the surface. But something wasn't right. Other patrons in the cafe noticed that Emma seemed tense. One witness recalled that Alex was leaning across the table, gesturing with his hands as if he was frustrated. Emma looked away, avoiding his gaze, and fidgeted with her engagement ring. At 7:30 p.m., Emma stood up and left the cafe. Alex claimed that she told him she needed to clear her head, that she wanted to take a walk near the lake before heading home. He said she kissed him goodbye and promised to see him in the morning. But Emma never made it home that night. Hours later, around 11 p.m., a passing motorist noticed Emma's car at the trailhead. The doors were locked, but the keys were still in the ignition. Her phone sat neatly on the passenger seat, untouched. On the center console was a note hastily written on the back of a receipt. It read, "I'm sorry, I couldn't go through with it." At first glance, it seemed like a classic case of cold feet. But as investigators combed through the area, the pieces of Emma's final hours didn't add up. Why would she leave her phone behind? Why was her car parked miles from where she was last seen? And why did Alex's story feel so incomplete? This is where Emma's story begins. A quiet lakeside town, a bride on the brink of her dream wedding, and a trail of clues that only deepened the mystery. What really happened to Emma Carter that night? The last confirmed sighting of Emma Carter was at 6 p.m. on September 15th. She met Alex Turner at a local cafe in their small Vermont town. Witnesses described her as tense, her shoulders stiff, her gaze fixed on her coffee. Her behavior wasn't what you'd expect from a bride less than 24 hours away from her wedding day. Alex, however, told a different story. He claimed Emma was overwhelmed but otherwise fine. He said they talked about the final details for the wedding, the timing, the flowers, and the rehearsal dinner. According to Alex, Emma stood up at 7:30 p.m., kissed him goodbye, and said she needed to take a walk to clear her head. After that, she vanished. Hours later, Emma's car was discovered at a nearby trailhead. It was locked, the keys still in the ignition, and her phone placed neatly on the passenger seat. But what stood out the most was the note. The note raised more questions than it answered. Did Emma willingly leave it behind? Was she truly overwhelmed by the weight of the wedding, or was someone forcing her to write those words? Investigators couldn't ignore the possibility that this was staged, designed to look like Emma had chosen to disappear on her own. Experts later examined the note, pointing out inconsistencies. The handwriting appeared rushed, uneven, unlike Emma's typically neat, flowing script. And there was something else. The message itself. I couldn't go through with it. What did Emma mean? Was she referring to the wedding or something else entirely? As police began piecing together Emma's final movements, they turned to the area around the trailhead. It was an isolated spot, surrounded by thick woods and bordered by a lake. A perfect place for someone to go unnoticed or for something much darker to occur. Alex Turner was quick to tell his side of the story. After Emma left the cafe, he claimed he went straight home. He said he spent the rest of the night pacing his apartment, waiting for a call or text that never came. At 9 p.m., he called Emma's phone. It went straight to voicemail. At 10 p.m., he called a friend asking if they'd heard from her. To some, this seemed like the actions of a concerned fiancé. But for investigators, Alex's timeline raised red flags. I saw Alex leaving around 8 o'clock. He was in a hurry, didn't even say hi, just got in his car and drove off. I thought it was strange because I knew he had the wedding the next day. If Alex claimed he went straight home, why did his neighbors see him leaving again? Where was he going, and why wasn't this detail in his original statement to police? The timing of Alex's calls also seemed strategic. Investigators noted that both calls were made after Emma's car had likely been abandoned at the trailhead. Was Alex trying to establish an alibi, or was he genuinely worried about Emma's safety? From the cafe to the trailhead, to Alex's inconsistent story, the pieces didn't seem to fit. What's more, police discovered a troubling detail in the surveillance footage from the cafe parking lot. Alex insisted he stayed at the cafe until Emma left, but this footage appeared to show his car leaving shortly after hers. If Alex wasn't following Emma, where was he going? And why did he fail to mention this in his statement? We can't say for sure what happened that night, but there are significant gaps in the timeline that we're working to fill. Right now, Alex Turner is someone we're looking at very closely. What began as a case of a missing bride was quickly becoming something far more complex. The trailhead, the abandoned car, and Alex's shaky alibi were just the beginning of a mystery that would leave investigators and the entire town searching for answers. With Emma Carter still missing and no immediate answers, the investigation quickly expanded. Police worked tirelessly to determine whether Emma left of her own free will or if foul play was involved. Theories swirled as investigators retraced Emma's final hours. The first theory was simple. Did Emma Carter, overwhelmed by the stress of her wedding, decide to leave everything behind? The note in her car seemed to suggest as much. But those who knew Emma dismissed this idea outright. Friends and family described her as excited for the wedding, not apprehensive. She was glowing, her maid of honor later recalled. She couldn't wait to marry Alex. The second theory was more troubling. Could Emma have been abducted while walking near the trailhead? The area surrounding the lake was dense with trees and largely unlit. It was a place where someone could easily go unnoticed. Local residents reported seeing nothing unusual that night, but one witness later claimed they heard a woman screaming in the distance around 8 p.m. This tip, however, could not be verified. 2 days after Emma's disappearance, a breakthrough emerged. A fragment of her veil was found snagged on a branch near the lake. To investigators, this was the first concrete sign that Emma may not have left voluntarily. Could this be evidence of a struggle? Meanwhile, Alex Turner's alibi continued to unravel. Surveillance footage from a gas station 20 miles away placed him far from his apartment at 9 p.m., contradicting his earlier statement that he stayed home. Alex claimed he was simply driving to clear his head, but investigators were skeptical. Why had he omitted this detail during his initial interview? And then there was the cryptic social media post. At 9:45 p.m., while search teams were still organizing, a message appeared on Emma's account. Sometimes love isn't enough. Was this a scheduled post, or did Emma somehow access her phone despite it being found in her abandoned car? The veil discovery suggested a struggle had taken place, but beyond that, there were no physical clues tying anyone to the scene. No blood, no footprints, just the faint evidence of Emma's presence. A potential breakthrough came when a witness reported seeing a second car parked near the trailhead that night, a black sedan with out-of-state plates. The vehicle was spotted around 8:15 p.m., shortly after Emma left the cafe. However, no one could identify the driver, and the car had disappeared by the time officers arrived. The lead was promising, but like so much in this case, it led to a dead end. The car's description was too vague, and without a plate number, investigators couldn't track it down. When you're dealing with a case like this, you have to consider all possibilities. Was Emma feeling trapped? Was there tension in her relationship with Alex that no one knew about? If she felt threatened, her actions leading up to her disappearance might hold subtle clues. People don't just vanish without leaving traces of their thought process. Handwriting analysis is critical in cases like this. We look for signs of duress, shaky strokes, inconsistent pressure, hesitation marks. The paper's origin is also key. Was it something Emma carried with her, or was it introduced by someone else? Every detail matters. The analysis of the note revealed faint smudges on the edges, possibly from dirt or sweat. While inconclusive, it raised the possibility that the note was written under stressful conditions, potentially outdoors near the trailhead. With each new clue, the mystery deepened. Emma's veil, Alex's conflicting timeline, the cryptic social media post, and the mysterious black sedan all pointed in different directions. Investigators were no closer to understanding what had happened to Emma Carter, or why. After weeks of painstaking investigation, detectives uncovered a series of unsettling truths about Alex Turner that shifted the entire trajectory of the case. Behind the image of a devoted fiancé was a man with a darker, more troubling past. He could be so charming, but there was another side to him. When we argued, he'd get this look in his eyes. Once, he told me, "If you ever cross me, you'll regret it." I thought he was bluffing, but after hearing about Emma, I don't know anymore. The breakthrough came when investigators obtained a warrant to search Alex's home and electronics. What they found on his laptop sent chills through the team. Alex had searched terms like how to fake an alibi, how long before police stop looking for a missing person, and do search dogs track through water. And then, the mystery of the black sedan was finally solved. The vehicle belonged to a private investigator Emma had hired just weeks before her disappearance. She'd grown suspicious that Alex was cheating on her and wanted answers before she walked down the aisle. The investigator confirmed that Emma had been troubled by what they uncovered, but refused to elaborate further, citing client confidentiality. For weeks, investigators combed the area around the trailhead, searching for anything that could explain Emma's fate. Their patience finally paid off when they discovered a set of keys buried beneath a thin layer of dirt. Among them was a key to Emma's apartment, but the other keys were unfamiliar and later traced to Alex's car. Faced with mounting evidence, Alex was arrested for obstruction of justice. Detectives accused him of withholding critical information, including details of his timeline the night Emma disappeared and his knowledge of the note found in her car. But even with Alex in custody, the question that haunted everyone remained: where was Emma? Though Alex Turner was charged with obstruction, there was insufficient evidence to tie him directly to Emma's disappearance. Without a body or definitive proof of foul play, authorities were forced to leave the case open. Emma Carter's family continued to plead for answers, their grief etched in every word of their public statements. If Alex knows something, anything, I beg him to tell us. We just want our daughter back, please. As of today, Emma Carter remains missing. Her case is classified as an ongoing investigation, with no new leads reported in recent months. But the shadow of suspicion surrounding Alex Turner lingers, leaving many to wonder: did he orchestrate the perfect crime, or is Emma's disappearance the result of something far more complex? What do you think happened to Emma Carter? Could Alex Turner hold the key to her disappearance? Or is there another explanation waiting to be uncovered? Let us know your theories in the comments below. Emma Carter's disappearance is a tragic mystery that continues to baffle investigators and haunt the hearts of her loved ones. On the surface, it might seem like a story of a bride-to-be succumbing to pre-wedding doubts, but the deeper you look, the more unsettling the details become. A fiancé with a shaky alibi, a cryptic diary entry, and a trail of evidence that raises more questions than answers. Was Emma trying to escape something, or someone? Did she fear for her safety in the days leading up to her wedding? And if so, why didn't she reach out for help? Or could her disappearance be the work of someone with a motive we've yet to uncover? The veil fragment, the note in her car, and the cryptic social media post, do they all point to a staged disappearance, or is there a far darker truth waiting to surface? Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think happened to Emma Carter? Do you believe Alex Turner holds the answers? Or is there another player in this mystery we've yet to uncover? Share your theories and thoughts in the comments below. Your insights could shed light on the case. Don't forget to like this video if you found Emma's story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did. It helps us reach more people and keep these stories alive. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the most chilling mysteries. Your support makes it possible for us to continue investigating cases like Emma's and sharing them with you.